Hey guys, that guy with the glasses here. A while ago I did my top 20 favorite movies of all time, and a lot of people seem to like that a lot, so this time I'm going to do my top 10 favorite comedies. Now what I mean by that is not comedies that totally redefine the way we look at comedy or which ones were the most poetic or abstract or anything like that. I'm only going by which ones made me laugh the most and which ones made me laugh the hardest. So these are the comedies that I can watch over and over again, never get tired of them. They just always inspire me, always make me laugh, and I am going to count them down for you right now. So get ready, these are my top 10 favorite comedies. Number 10. Hot Shots Part 2. Something you're gonna hear me say often in this countdown is epic comedy, which is a comedy that's not only funny but has a huge scale in terms of the story and jokes. Hot Shots Part 2 is one of those comedies. It's a satire of 80s and 90s action films that's probably my favorite out of these straight-up parody flicks. And don't get me wrong, movies like Young Frankenstein and Airplane are probably much more clever and groundbreaking than this one, but this just makes me laugh the most. I love it for two reasons. One is the main stars, Charlie Sheen and Valeria Golino, who play their parts so straight-faced and so serious that it makes all the madness happening around them just seem all the more hilarious. I actually wish they made more sequels, just so they could work together again. The other reason is the visual jokes, which I think this one has the most of. They just threw everything at you, lampooning all the over-the-top action scenes that we love in so many other films. And I tend to be a very visual guy, so these kind of jokes really make me laugh. It makes me laugh every time, and I never get tired of watching it. Number 9. Rat Race. Now I'll say right now that the beginning of this movie and the ending of this movie is pure crap. It's cheap jokes, lame writing, and serves the plot poorly. However, the middle of the movie, the chase portion, is laugh out loud hilarious. Seeing all these funny people constantly work off each other creates a lot of comedic gold. The premise is pretty much just a rewrite of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and to be fair, that's probably a much better movie. But again, this one just makes me laugh more. Particularly these two brothers, played by Seth Green and Vince Veiluf. They're both Weasley conmen who constantly get themselves into trouble. One of them pierced his own tongue, which means he's virtually impossible to understand. These two are the funniest part, but the other characters are really enjoyable too. Plus, some of these jokes are so beautifully and abstractly forced that you can't help but appreciate them. For example, John Lovitz and his family are driving in Hitler's car, don't ask, when a bunch of bikers attack them. He burns his throat with the cigarette lighter, he gets black lipstick from earlier on his face, and arrives at a World War II veteran ceremony. Now that's really forced, but it's also beautifully creative. How can you not laugh at that? I love the people, I love the scenarios, and I love the slapstick. With a movie like this, you just can't get silly enough. Number 8. Life of Brian. Everybody always thinks this is a satire on the life of Jesus, when really it's anything but. The focus is not to make fun of Jesus, but rather make fun of the people who followed him. And even then, that's not really mocking religion as it is mocking misunderstandings. Look at this, even from the beginning people are getting things wrong, despite the fact that Jesus is right in front of them.
I think it was blessed are the cheesemakers.
What's so special about the cheesemakers?
Well, obviously it's not meant to be taken literally. It refers to any manufacturers of dairy products.
Now add hundreds of years to that and you could possibly get a few misunderstandings. But what I love is how much they make the followers so likable. They're not evil or bad people. They're just looking for a little more certainty in their lives, and are willing to do anything and follow anything in order to make them more confident. It's very clever, very carefully written, and of course, very silly. I personally think it's one of the best satires ever written, even if it is controversial. Still, as long as people can keep in mind that humanity is fallible and has always made mistakes and will continue to make mistakes, I personally don't see it as that offensive. I'm not anti-religion or anything, but everybody can always misread something. And this movie is pretty much all about that, like most comedies are. And if for some reason you do find it too offensive that you need to complain about it, just remember.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the right side.
Number 7. Blues Brothers. How can you be a Chicagoan and not love this movie? If you go down any Chicago street and say the line "we're on a mission from God," everyone knows what you're talking about. It's a simple premise. An orphanage needs money, Jake and Elwood try to get it through band gigs, yet somehow all this shit happens. I just love how two little people can cause such a pileup of cars, trucks, police, military, and on top of that, it's all real. All the cars piling up are really piling up. All the people they got are really the people they got. No CG at all. That makes it all the more massive and all the more hilarious. Through a slow but sturdy pace, we see how all this trouble comes about and why so many people want to get these guys. I just love how huge it gets, and it's so funny knowing that all this chaos is caused by just these two people, who in and of themselves are hilarious. On top of that, the jokes are great, the music is great, the acting is great. It's just an all-around great film. Blues Brothers. Music, dancing, comedy, and a shitload of cars. What more do you need? Number 6. Shrek II. You're probably gonna be really surprised when I say this, but I'm one of the few people who didn't like the first Shrek movie. I thought the idea was clever, but the jokes were very few and often not really worked out. It just didn't make me laugh that much. Shrek 2, on the other hand, is funny as hell. The amount of jokes they throw at you is almost overwhelming. There's jokes in the background, there's jokes in the foreground, subtle jokes, obvious jokes, they're all over the place. The characters themselves are jokes. Puss in Boots as Zorro is great, the fairy godmother running her own business is great, and on top of that, I actually really buy the love story between Shrek and Fiona. It's surprisingly a very nice and believable romance. Well, as believable as it can be with ogres. It also looks nice, is very colorful, and plus you gotta watch it a few times in order to get every single joke that they throw out there. Everything in this film works, and in my opinion, it blows the original out of the water. But maybe that's just me. Either way, it's one of my favorites. And that's about it for now. Stay tuned for the other top 5 coming soon.